Alright, and we're back. Got Zenzyg taking on TZP yet again. Game 3 of this best of 3. And that draft image is wrong, because I did not update the fact that Zenzyg, in fact, did win a game this series. And let's just go ahead and fix that right now. Boom, there it goes. So, both teams with a victory. Zenzyg taking game 1 pretty decisively, and TZP responding even harder in game 2 with a sub 20-minute win. That means both of these teams are facing elimination, and both of these teams could move on with a victory. Always nice to see game 3s, and Zenzyg, to be fair, game 2 wasn't their greatest performance ever, but you could still see this is perhaps a better team than I've been giving them credit for. They've been back and forth between silver, but taking game 1 as decisively as they did off of TZP, definitely something that's makes you think this team could have some potential. So we'll see how they do, if they can in fact knock off TZP, shake off the doldrums from game 2, and turn around and deliver a performance much more akin to what they did in the first game. So far, we see the bans on Magnus and Ophelia on Legion's side, Cthulhu and Kraken getting taken out by Wazo. That leaves the Swiftblade open, and it will be first picked by Yellow Train into Pharaoh and Glacius. So we have the pub combo of Swiftblade and Glacius on the board. Glacius freeze into Swiftblade spin is very commonly seen, and a nice little interaction. Obviously, Glacius has plenty of other nice attributes for Swiftblade, notably the Thunder Blast providing a similar service, and the additional mana pool and mana regen, quite nice for a hero that can often have some mana issues. Unless he goes for a Nullstone or Cleaver, which is not a typical build. Abyssal Skull usually solves most of his problems, but if you want to constantly spin, then it's not going to do everything for you. Hellborn will counter with Puppet Master, Empath, and Bubbles, so the Empath pick, not a huge surprise, often considered one of Swiftblade's best partners and one of Swiftblade's best counters. So picking him up here for Zenzyg accomplishes the dual task of taking away a good option for the Legion team and giving them something that does well against one of their heroes. Definitely a good selection there, and obviously combos very well with Puppet Master also, providing him additional attack damage, some heal, which he can certainly use considering that he's relatively squishy, and of course he already thinks that, considering that pretty much every PM build includes a Whispering Helm. And then of course the wall, providing some more ability to prevent heroes from getting away, and that's once again very, very positive for the PM when he's got his CC tools on cooldown and he wants to keep right-clicking people with his auto attacks / prevent them from breaking his puppet. Wall going to be very helpful. So will the Bubbles Kelp Field in that manner. And this means that, once again, Zenzyg picking up a strong gank-oriented lineup with the PM, Empath, and Bubbles, all solid gank heroes. The only one that really fits that bill for the Legion team is Pharaoh. Engineer, good lane hero, decent ganker. You definitely need somebody else there, obviously. He's not getting solo kills, but more importantly, his spells are relatively short range, and they're difficult to land, which means that he more or less needs a setup stun, or at least a slow of some kind, something to help him hit that keg and hit that turret with reasonable accuracy. Legion side also going for the dual support option. Hellborn certainly have that avenue available to them as well. Tempest is still on the board, in fact, as he escaped the second stage of bans. Those were Dr. Repulsor, Gauntlet, and Silhouette for the Legion side, Pebbles, Malakin, and Parasite for the Hellborn side. So Wazo trying to ban out a couple of bursty magic damage heroes in Pebbles and Parasite, as well as the short lane carry option of Malakin, which I'm not really sure if Yellow Train would have picked that up on the Legion side. They already have a Swiftblade, and Jonathan's a known Swiftblade player, so I would imagine that would be put in his hands. Count Crapula does play good Malakin, but I don't think that would allow Jonathan to be in the short lane where he would like to be, so I'm not sure if Malakin was really a serious option for Yellow Train there. Perhaps just banning out heroes they knew that these players like to use. The problem is, do they actually make sense in this lineup and in the laning phase? Last pick for the Legion side will be a Blood Hunter, and that's going to go once again to Jonathan. Had a very good game with it last time and took a pretty easy win. Very strong laning presence against Geomancer. And this game he will have the opportunity to prove that once again. Swiftblade likely going to be put in the suicide role as a result. We could still see a Swiftblade tri-lane, as Glacius, Engineer, and Swiftblade would form a pretty solid tri-lane combination. Freeze into keg into spin. It's a lot of lockdown and a lot of damage coming out quite quickly. So wouldn't be surprised to see an aggro tri-lane from this TZP side. Could also definitely see double dual lanes, as we're likely going to see a solo Pharaoh, but often possible to put Glacius and Switchblade together, and then Engineer and Bloodhunter or something like that. The only issue, Engineer not the greatest dual lane hero with something like Bloodhunter. Magnus, sure, as long as he get a setup stun. You know, Pebbles, sure, as long as he had a setup stun, then he can dual lane just fine, but he doesn't really have that in this situation, so I would assume we're going to see the aggressive tri-lane coming out from the TZP side. Hellborn will finish off their draft with Geomancer once again, as well as the Torture, another hero they played last game. And this time, actually, Kolak going to be going with the Empath as opposed to the Torture. I Love Sonya on the Suicide, Geomancer once again, and I Am a Cake, their jungle player, going to be playing the second support Torture. So I think the Legion side are well aware of, or sorry, the Hellborn team are well aware of the Legion's tri-lane possibility, and are saying, guess what? You know, we can counter with the tri-lane of our own. Likely going to be a Puppet Master tri-lane, and that's going to give them the advantage of a triple 600 range tri-lane as well. Legion side only has one 600 range hero in Glacius, and that's going to make it much more difficult for them to set up kills, because they really do need to start things off with that freeze. So it's going to be pretty clear, Glacius running towards the opponents, getting the freeze, it's going to be much harder for them to actually successfully get kills in a tri-lane versus tri-lane situation, and they're also going to have to waste a fair bit of their time just getting to the heroes. That means that Switchblade won't be pounding in auto attacks from the get-go. He'll have to walk up and then spin. It should still be enough damage, presuming that they actually start with the freeze. But it's going to be a little more difficult to execute than perhaps they would like. Now, it would appear that they're going to dodge, so I would assume the Hellborn team want to go try versus try. And they're figuring the Legion are going to end up with a safe lane tri-lane, but that's not the case. Bloodhunter down here by himself. Ward of Sight would potentially spot any movement, but they're not going to see anybody as Bloodhunter's hiding in the woods. And obviously won't be running down the lane. They do also block the pull, and that's going to be using both of their wards, so no Rune Vision coming out. Legion side choosing to get some Rune Vision of their own with a ward up top that clip that will spot the top rune. And an aggressive tri-lane of their own. Now Bloodhunter's going to have a pretty terrible time in this bottom lane. He's a good 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 1 hero with the Feast. 1 versus 3, he's going to get destroyed, especially when you consider all the CC tools that are coming out from this Hellborn side. They definitely have the potential to kill him and do so quite easily. They're going to see him move in here, actually, and that could be real bad. No Empath wall actually goes out. That was an opportunity for a free kill if she had just walled off, and they should have known exactly where he was thanks to that Ward of Sight, so I'm actually kind of surprised that Empath didn't go for the wall right there. Maybe just a bit of a late reaction, but that was a first blood possibility that's not going to go their way. Instead, it's going to be Bubbles who gets stunned out. Can Shell Surf, though. Just barely gets out of there. Will pop a health potion, but the rotation from the Hellborn for the Legion supports unsuccessful in getting that first kill. They're going to leave Switchblade up on the top lane. He will have to spin through the Earth's Grasp, so he's going to get a couple of kills out of this, and a couple of CS at least out of this. But not too much damage on the Geomancer, and he's now used some of his mana pool, which is not really what he wants to do, but trading autos with Geo, he's actually winning that battle, so Geomancer quickly realizing, I don't want to be part of this anymore, I'm going to go back to getting creep kills, and let Switchblade take his as well. Engineer coming back up here to reform a dual lane, in fact, as Glacius hangs out middle, gets it once again a freeze onto the Bubbles, and going to pound in a lot of auto attacks as well. Bubbles having already taken his health potion, currently sitting on 2 more trees, so not a lot of regen for him. He has about 200 gold off of his bottle, though, and that will help a lot as his rune control is superior to either Legion hero. Of course, the dual lane, that makes things a little bit easier as Pharaoh can hand his bottle right off to Glacius and have him go camp one of the runes. But that's going to require some luck, of course. Hellborn support rotating once again, and Legion have no vision of this bottom lane, so Bloodhunter, if he runs into them, could be in some trouble. Instead, actually, Torch going to peel off and guard the bottom rune, which is just a rune of refreshment. We'll pick it up. Top rune is a DD, and nobody seems to have taken that quite yet. Glacius going to rotate over and grab it. Top lane, Switchblade and Engineer could be looking to die this Geomancer. Switchblade just going to spin on the wave once again as the Earth's Grasp goes through on Engie. Bottom lane, meanwhile, Bloodhunter could be in a lot of trouble. Bloodlust will go the way of Hellborn as Kolak on the Empath picks up the last hit. So that's going to be boots for Empath relatively quickly, as the Hellborn tri-lane has sort of reformed, and the Legion really going for this double dual lane strat, which is, I'm not a huge fan of it personally. I think Pharaoh's a hero that really needs to solo and has the capacity to do so, including against the Bubbles, who actually shouldn't be able to do too much against him. The constant spam from the Pharaoh Tormented Soul should allow him to pretty much do whatever he wants in this lane, including get a fair amount of CS and levels. As you can see, the Shell Surf just really not doing all that much damage, and Pharaoh now has a bottle, which means he can completely spam those nukes. Meanwhile, actually, Torture and Empath going to get caught out here. Bloodhunter's silence is there. Creeps are helping, actually, and Torture looks like he's going to be able to take a health pot. Might be able to get away. Pharaoh nuke back up in a second. Going to spot him out. Bloodhunter looking for another silence. Will get into Torture, but he should be able to walk this off. Meanwhile, actually, Bubbles gets trapped in by the Pharaoh Mummy Walls. Will be able to get away, but still gets frozen by Glacius. Nobody going to die on either side. Has a lot of spells and a lot of health lost. But it results in 0 hero kills. Once again, Pharaoh going to trap the Bubbles in. Not going to be able to kill him. But just doing some more harassment. Pharaoh currently sitting on one more bottle sip. Another rune to be spawning in 10 seconds as well. So that's presumably his reasoning for wanting to use the rest of his mana. Just like, I'm going to take my bottle sip and then grab another rune somewhere in about a second. We'll see where that is. It is in the bottom lane, so Bubbles with actually a nice guess. And the RNG is in his favor. He'll pick up the illusions. Head right back to middle lane. And look at the GPM charts. Nobody farming all that well except for the Swiftblade, who's at 415 GPM. And considering the Bloodlust went to Empath and the assist went to Puppet Master, and that's the reason for a lot of his 335 GPM. Swiftblade in the top lane having quite a good time. 34 creep kills. That's 10 ahead of anybody in this game, including that PM in the bottom lane, who's had more or less complete free farm. Jonathan on this Bloodhunter just has not been in this bottom lane, electing to essentially jungle, as he realizes there's just nothing he can do down there. Doesn't have lane control, and with the continuous rotation of the Hellborn supports through the Legion Woods, it's just not possible for him to sit there and even get XP without consistently dying. So he's like, fine, I'll head into the woods and do what I can in there. As long as I'm not feeding, it's better. But that does mean that Puppet Master is free farming down here, and quite literally free farming. There is no opposition. That could become a problem pretty damn quickly for this TZP team now. The fact that Swiftblade's doing as well as the Swift Slashes in the top lane will kill Sonya, so nicely landed Keg Stun there, as I guess the Geomancer Dig was on cooldown. And Swifty can actually pull the Hellborn creeps into the Legion, into the woods, and that's going to allow him to continue to push the tower. So I'm going to use these to jungle a little bit, and actually getting all the CS as well, so not bad at all. Spins, and he's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 creep kills, as well as a fair bit of tower damage, and 1 CS for Engineer as well. So this top tower down to about a quarter, and I like the tactics from Swiftblade. Pushing out a short lane tower for the Hellborn side is actually going to be quite valuable, as they have Puppet Master who'd really like to farm stacks. Meanwhile, middle lane Bubbles taking the fall. Glacius coming in. Now there's the Wrath of the Pharaoh, and actually it's just Pharaoh who says, guess what? You're real dead, buddy. All the long range potential of YOLO Train on that hero being put to its best use. And I'd really like to see these Hellborn supports try to rotate top a little bit. We've seen them continuously roam through the Legion Woods. They haven't been able to make too much work. This word of sight actually from Ganal doing a lot, as it's continuously spotted out their rotations. And kept Bloodhunter safe as he's just farming these camps. Only 160 gold for Jonathan once again, so very reminiscent of Chipper game. But in this situation, there's a much better reason for it. Obviously, he has no capacity to lane. Top lane, Keg Stun, not going to connect to the Geomancer. Good presence of mind from I Love Sonya, realizing the range and that he could avoid it without having to use Dig. Still only 180 GPM for this Geomancer, so as I said last game, Geomancer a very good hero and one of my personal favorites. Really, he's grown into something, a hero that I consider extremely strong. I Love Sonya not having particularly great games on the hero in back-to-back instances though. So once again, Swiftblade's here, has Swift Slashes in 10 seconds, and once he gets those back, Geomancer can be in a lot of trouble. Only 500 health on him. And 5 seconds, 4 seconds. And in fact, Geomancer can deny this top tower. It's going to take a while. A couple more auto attacks even. Come on, you got it. There you go. But now the Swift Slashes are available, and Geomancer going to have to dig past, but he's going to die here as the Swift Slashes are there. 1, 2, 3, and boom. Real dead. So I could see that coming from a mile away. Really needed to dig into the woods right there. Have himself flown a teleport so that he could get out. Or perhaps just dig once again, once it was off cooldown. But not the correct decision right there. And not really surprising that it wasn't the correct decision. Legion side decided to do something about this Puppet Master, in fact, as they spot him out with the Tormented Soul. They're going to need something else. There's the initiation with the Wrath of the Pharaoh, and there's pretty much no way that PM's getting out of this one. The stun rotation is perfect, and Wazo going to fall. Glacius not even getting an assist, as apparently he didn't get any damage in there. Kind of surprising that the Thunder Blast wasn't even used to at least get him some assist fold, but oh well, they got the important thing, and that was the kill on the PM, so he's down to 325 GPM. As Swiftblade continues to just lead everybody else by a pretty massive margin. Torturer and Pharaoh are going to spot each other, but the Torturer chain reactions actually miss. Pharaoh does not want to be here. He pops the Hellfire. Finally, double damage on Bubble. It's going to help secure this kill. I don't see any situation in which Yellow Train gets out of this. No. And no assistance from his team either, realizing he's dead. No reason to feed ourselves, too. So a good pick from Zenzyg. But they're down early, and this top lane Swiftblade, a really big reason why. He's not even going to die to this Puppet Master combination. He is going to die to the auto attack, though, so Cal Crapula gets picked off by Wazo. Nice attempt there by Zenzyg. Bottom lane Crystal Field right on top of the face of Glacius. Doesn't actually hit, though. The Earth's Grasp should be sufficient. No, it's not! The level 4 Earth's Grasp, not enough. Jonathan the Blunter actually dies in the middle lane. We'll check that in a second. Nice dig. Will stop the Tormented Soul from actually connecting. And I Love Sonya is going to be able to get away. Wrath of the Pharaoh just misses. Let's go back and see how Jonathan dies in the middle lane. As he gets jumped by a couple of heroes. DD Rune still on Bubbles. And the link is there from Empath. Finally taking the death. Bubbles, nice take cover. That's going to stop the tower aggro. He will teleport out. Tower not providing any assistance to Bloodhunter there. And ends up getting away on Bubbles. So, kills in both lanes, top and mid, and that's what Zenzyg need. And all of a sudden that 2k gold lead the Legion had a second ago, completely gone. Swiftblade slowed down considerably. They are trying to deny this middle lane tower, but that's not going to be successful. And Path Wall going to distract Swiftblade for just long enough for the supports to get away. And in middle lane, Swiftblade could be in some trouble as well. But he won't be. And that's how that went. Could be in some trouble, is not. Can you tell I'm a writer? Swiftblade continuing to spin things, so he's still cranking up the GPM. 475 gold per minute. Definitely not bad. As Hellborn look to take yet another tower, top lane being pushed in. They got a double, triple Archer Wave, in fact, so this top tower has taken no damage, but it'll take a lot all of a sudden. Deep lane ward here as well, just in case the Legion side tries to rotate. But here comes Swiftblade. Nice Puppet Show on him, and they'll be looking for another string as well in order to stop anything from coming out. Wrath of Pharaoh does connect onto Wazo, and he's not going to be getting out of this, even though the Swift Slash is used. Probably not necessary, but still fine. Here comes Empath, Bubbles, and Geomancer, though. Empath going to be in a lot of trouble. Drops the wall, but he's still going to fall as Pharaoh has a haste, and Geomancer going to die as well as this Swin just does way too much damage. Crystalfield not going to connect. Swiftblade still going to fall, as the Keg Stun is going to hit on Bubbles. Chain Reaction is going to counter this. They're trying to turn this onto Pharaoh, and Bubbles should be able to get away here. He is just barely going to survive, but now Torture has dug himself a bit of a hole as the supports trade for each other. So, in the end, ends up being what looks like 2 for 3? Something like that? Yeah. 2 for 4, in fact. Yeah, 2 for 4. So, missed the Wazo actually resurrected as that last kill went through, so not a bad trade for TZP at all, and they'll get their lead right back. Bottom lane Pharaoh looking to set something else up on this Puppet Master if he sticks around. He has successfully evaded the creep wave, so they know exactly where PM is, and PM does not know. that Pharaoh's here, and he's actually going to have to be forced to break the invis. Puppet Master, no real way of getting out of this. Puppet Show's on Blood Hunter, but they got a Blood Sense. He's also going to be silenced here. Dig, going to hit onto 2, and now Wazo could get out of this, but the Soul is there, and that'll be a kill. All of a sudden, Blood Hunter could be in some trouble, though. Earth's Grasp, not going to be enough damage to finish off the Pharaoh, as there's the wall from the Empath, but Pharaoh going to block in 2 heroes. Here comes Glacius from the back. There's a Tundra Blast onto 1. Empath going to be in a lot of trouble. They will be finished off. Pharaoh just barely going to get out of there. Earth Scraps should finish him off, though. Yes, no, it won't. Actually, nice bottle ticks in between, and meantime, Jonathan on the Blood Hunter still does die. As we're trying to chase down the Torturer, Kegstun barely going to connect. Thunder Blast once again. 2-man's chain reactions, though. And Torturer going to fall to yet another Tormented Soul. Glacius going to die to the tower. So that's unfortunate, but he took the tower aggro, ended up falling. Pharaoh going to get caught out by Bubbles here. Has a Kelp Field available, needs to drop it. Is barely going to connect onto Pharaoh. Gets hit by the walls a couple of times. Here comes Zenzyg as well. And both he and Pharaoh could be in a lot of trouble. Actually, neutral creeps get Bubbles because they triple stacked it. That's awful. Essence Link is there and gonna help finish off Pharaoh. Yes, Empath gets the last auto. One more will be able enough to finish off NG as well. Nice health pot tick from Empath. Needs the wall, and the Link is not enough. Mex just barely able to survive. Dig is gonna finish him off though. So heroes coming from every single direction. And seems like that fight would never end, but eventually it does, and pretty much everybody on both teams died. As far as I can tell, the Swiftblade, the only one that was really not participating in that fight, so I think the only person that didn't die in that engagement was, in fact, the Swiftblade. In the end, nice fight for TZP once again, because, like I said, Swiftblade was just farming the whole time. Crystal Field, everything used on Jonathan. Easy kill. As once again, he is not having a great time, so, the import from WOG, very good game too. Other than that, hasn't been great. So, TZP with an early lead, 15 minutes in, not as good as it could have been considering they were up 25k or 2,500 or so about 6 or 7 minutes ago, and if they continue to build on that lead, then they would be much further ahead than they currently are, obviously. But a couple of setbacks have led them to this position, which is certainly an advantageous one still. Not as good as they were hoping, I'm sure. And the difficulty is basically going to be, will the fact that this Blood Hunter can contribute absolutely nothing to these fights, more or less, hurt them? He's at 197 gold per minute, and sure, the hemorrhage will be nice, and the silence will be nice if he uses it appropriately. He does have really 4 targets he can put it on. The only one he shouldn't is probably the Puppet Master, but Bubbles, Geomancer, Empath, and Torturer are all deserving of the silence and the dot damage. And they're going to really rely on Count Crapula on this Swiftblade to carry them. So whether or not that will be sufficient is, of course, the question. The Swiftblade TP's on back to base. But at the rate he's going, it certainly would be. And nobody on the Hellborn team really looking like they can oppose his GPM. In fact, the top 2 farmers in the game are on Legion, in the form of the Swiftblade and the Pharaoh. Then again, you look at the rest of the Legion side, and like I said, they've got nothing. Pharaoh, meanwhile, might actually get some help from Engineer. There's the dig, gonna connect onto him. Crystal Field right in his face as well with the Searing Chain's actually gonna be taking the stun, but he gets out of it with the Wrath of the Pharaoh. Geomancer all of a sudden in a lot of trouble. That's gonna be 1 kill. Torture getting hemorrhaged and killed as well. Puppet Master in the back trying to get away from this, gets dusted out. Yeah, he actually was hit by the dust. There's the silence and a nice keg stun, plus the walls, trapping him with the 2 melee heroes, and another kill for Jonathan, who gets a double tap out of that engagement. So, nice initiation from the Hellborn team trying to pick off Pharaoh, but look at how tanky he is. Helm of the Black Legion and a Mystic Vestments. There is no easy killing this hero. And with the ability of the rest of the Legion side to come through the woods like that and back him up, the positioning was absolutely perfect. Ends up being a successful counter initiation for TZP, and 3 more hero kills that they will gladly take. While, once again, Swiftblade free farm, so we haven't seen too much action from the Swiftblade. He's 2, 2, and 3. Most of those kills and the assists came from the early laning phase when he dumpstered Geomancer a couple of times. And since then, he's really not been particularly active. He's mostly just been farming as much as he can. You look at the rest of the team, 6-2-7 on YOLO Train, 5-4 on the Engineer, and 2-4-2 on Jonathan. So substantially more activity on the Engineer and Pharaoh. Bottom lane, meanwhile, Puppet Master with his Assassin Shroud. That was obviously picked up, and they know it because there's a Dust of Revelation on the Legion side. Pharaoh, you'd think he'd be in some trouble. He's really not. He's got way too much health for Puppet Master to realistically kill him, so Puppet just going to steal this double stack, or at least some of it, and force Pharaoh back to base. He doesn't have too much mana anyway, so that's not that big a deal. He could use a heal. Top lane, Jonathan could be in some trouble. Gets the Kelp Field on him. Going to try to run away. Has a Blood Sense active somehow, but going to eat the dig, and that should be a pretty easy kill, as they have all of the damage necessary to get the victory. Torture somehow contributed an assist there. Did he get Agonizing Bonds early? He must have, and then left. That was the Blood Sense. Anyway, Puppet Master and Engie going to be going up against it. Engie's not going to win that fight, but it gets frozen, actually, and PM going to get turned on. Oh, that's painful. And this is the value of wards, ladies and gentlemen. They've got a Word of Rev in the bottom lane, but you can see the warding situation for the Hellborn team in the Legion jungle is precisely nil. So they can't see the rotation of Glacius coming over from the side. And Pharaoh obviously has the range. You got to be constantly aware of that. Top lane, Swiftblade could be in some trouble. There's two heroes here looking to jump him, but I don't think they can kill him without at least one more. And you can see the rotation of additional heroes coming over. There's the dig into the Crystal Field. Bubble's going to pop the Silence, and Swiftblade going to fall. So nicely patient, knowing that the Geomancer and Empath combo probably didn't have enough to take down the Swiftblade. They wait, they get Bubbles, and that's enough. So very important kill right there. Swiftblade farming perhaps a little bit too aggressively, and ends up falling. PM once again returning to the bottom lane, and I had the same complaint from Zenzyg last game, but you look at their wards. Where are they? Because I don't see any. Pharaoh, in fact, going to jump on top of this Puppet Master. There's a Glacial Downpour. Immediately going to be stopped, actually, as the Puppet Show goes through on Glacius, but it's still going to be a kill. Just no ability for PM to actually do anything there. And now double damage. Bubbles thinks he can man up here. Does kill the Glacius, but going to have to get out on the Shell Surf. Doesn't do so, and he's going to pay with his life. Thought he could get a double tap, but again, TZP's ability to back up their other players has been fantastic this game. They're constantly rotating over and counter-initiating when the Hellborn team tries to gank. At this point, I think Zenzyg has to learn from that and think, look, if we don't get the kill within the first couple of seconds, we have to get out. TZP is moving to support their other teammates, and they've still got 5 towers up, so it's not like they don't have the ability to teleport in. They've got a Pharaoh, they've got a Blood, I mean, they've got mobility as well, so you really have to look at this and think, we've got maybe 3 or 4 seconds to get a kill. If we don't get the kill in 3 or 4 seconds, we get out. Because Bubbles definitely had the opportunity to Shell Surf and into the woods right there. He dropped his Shell Surf, he could have ported to it. But he got greedy with the double damage, thinking he could get a double tap, and he couldn't. Anyway, Swiftblade into top lane, he's dead. And there's a kill that took maybe 3 seconds. And then they get out. And that's exactly what you need to do, because you see tier 1 tower up here. There is a Wrath of the Pharaoh available. If he was nearby, he would have perhaps been able to turn that. Speaking of Pharaoh in the middle lane, could be in some trouble. They're going to need the chain reactions. The dig is there, though, on top of the Kelp Field, and the chain reactions finally come through. Pharaoh very tanky, still going to be taking a death as the collapse is far too strong from Zenzyg. And they're actually down reasonably substantially right now with a 5k gold and 3.2k experience deficit. But they're showing with those last couple of picks, they're still definitely in this game. They can get kills on important heroes like that Pharaoh and the Swiftblade, both of whom are the only legitimate farmers on this Legion side. Bloodhunter's recovered a little bit with nearly 270 GPM, but not in the realm of being particularly dangerous, especially for a more mid-game oriented hero who should be thriving right now and can't really do so thanks to his lack of farm. On the other hand, you look at the Hellborn team, and Bubbles is the top farmer at 380 GPM, Puppet only at 305. He has the Shroud, no Helm, so he won't be farming particularly fast. And Zenzyg, what's your plan? Do you keep getting late? You keep getting pickoffs and hope that's eventually going to turn into a golden experience advantage for you, where you can legitimately turn and win this game? Because at this rate, even with the pickoffs you're getting, you're not building yourself a lead. You're You're not even really cutting into the Legion's lead, but they're going to counter once again as they try to get the initiation. Crystal Field only on Pharaoh. That's a counter kill on a Geomancer. Bubbles going to eat the hemorrhage, can't run away. He's dead. No way he can survive this whatsoever. He's got 4 heroes sitting on top of him. And I don't know why you're initiating on a Pharaoh with a helm, a barbed armor, and vestments. That just seems like a terrible idea. And again, this Legion team, they're just holding hands. And they're constantly ready to support each other, which is exactly what they should be doing. I'm not deriding them in any means. I'm just like, look, they're not getting picked off easily. They know the Hellborn's got gank potential. They know they have to keep ganking in order to win this game, and they're like, fine, we're not going to let you do that. We're always going to be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 heroes. So Congo are going to be attempted here by the Legion side. They did drop a Ward of Sight deep in the middle lane. That will allow them to see rotations. Tormented Soul also going to scout for vision a little bit. Pharaoh, of course, very good Kongor killer with his Hellfire, as that continuously stuns Kongor and prevents him from attacking, but don't even need it all that much. The Abyssal Skull from Swiftblade, very, very helpful. That'll be a token of life on Swiftblade, who is still flirting with that 500 GPM mark. It's been around that amount of farm for the last 10 to 12 minutes. So Zenzyg finding themselves with a pretty serious disadvantage at this point, and perhaps for the first time in this game, at a realistically difficult place. About 10k gold here, 23 minutes in. Definitely not an insubstantial lead for the Legion team. We'll see what they can do with it. Wazo ends up getting picked off in the top lane. Let's go back all the way. Pharaoh comes in with his ultimate. Going to be able to drop the roaming walls. And he has a double damage unit as well, but the Dust of Revelation on top of a Ward of Sight. No, it's not Rev. Anyway, Crystal Field will catch the Engineer, but that's it. And Geomancer trying to save his buddy. Does not succeed. Again, the Legion are 4 heroes. Every single time you see them with 3 heroes, with 4 heroes. And they're always bringing more to these fights than the Hellborn team does, and it's consistently resulting in them getting team fight victories. Bottom lane, Swiftblade could actually be in some trouble. There are 3 heroes down here ready to collapse on him. He does have a token of life. Here comes Bubbles, but Swiftblade can get the spin off and just TP away. There's nothing they can do about this. So Bubbles has a portal key, but he didn't get the silence. And I don't know why. If he had been able to drop the silence and the kelp field and the shell surf, that might have been enough time for Empath and Torture to come in with their follow-up stunts and damage. Meanwhile, top lane, there's the kelp field on a 3, but Bubbles actually going to port to a shell surf, finding himself in kind of a bad situation. Wrath of the Pharaoh is available from Pharaoh. He's stunned. He's actually going to miss it as the Empath Essence Link is on Pharaoh, but going to pop his barbed armor. Engineer getting his ultimate down, but really not doing all that much as Empath hops inside of the Puppet Master. Meanwhile, Bubbles coming back in, eats a hemorrhage though, and he's going to be able to take cover for a little while, trying to get the counter kill onto Glacius, who pops his power supply, and Puppet Show goes through there. Bubbles not going to survive for much longer as here comes Pharaoh. Counter kill is there onto Jonathan. Pharaoh's like, guess what, Geomancer, you're not going anywhere. Finally, Swiftblade comes in. Swift Slash is there to finish off Torture. Dig gets a 2-man stun, and Pharaoh going to fall to the Wazo auto attacks. Puppet Show is there as well, but Swiftblade's like, that doesn't work because I'm magic immune now, and Empath's going to pop outside of Puppet Master. There he goes. Dig, nice dodge from Swiftblade. Here comes Pharaoh back in with his buyback as he ports to the top tower. Yet another Wrath of the Pharaoh. The thing has such a short cooldown. And Empath, the only survivor of that fight for the Hellborn team. I would imagine she'll get out of this. She has a wall still available, so there's really no way that Swiftblade can chase her down. And once again, that's another 1-team fight for the guys on TZP as they continue to expand their lead. 13.5k gold, 13k experience. They have to be feeling pretty comfortable at where they're at. 525 GPM for the Swiftblade, 450 for Mr. YOLO Train on that Pharaoh, and Bloodhunter has recovered at 300 gold per minute, 240 for each of the supports. Lots of farm, and lots of farm spread around on this Legion side. Swiftblade finishing off Dawnbringer right there, so he's going to be fast, especially with that, and the Ghost Marchers and the Energizer. He should be running at haste speed for a lot of these fights. Pharaoh, look at the barbed armor on top of his regular tank items. Another 2,500 gold saved up, so wouldn't be surprised to see him go with something like a Staff of the Master. He could go for a puzzle box. In fact, I'd like the puzzle box a little bit better, as he's going to catch out Bubbles. Silence for Bloodhunter means that you are dead, my good friend. Even with the push book, it's not going to be enough. So, once again, predictable falling here. He is 4, 6, and 7. Let's quite a lot of deaths for 27 minutes in, and considering he's at Bubbles. To be fair, he's up against a pretty difficult team, especially the Bloodhunter Silence just sucks for him, and it looks like TZP gonna push a base, which is something that we haven't seen too much of in this series. With how quickly both games 1 and 2 ended, there haven't been too many slow sieges on base. Let's look at that token timing on the Swifty, just under a minute. So, more or less needs to hang out here. Wrath of Pharaoh not going to connect as the Hemorrhage goes on to Puppet Master. He's still above 40% though, so they can't see him invisible. Pharaoh can drop him low walls, prevent counter initiation, so a couple of ultimates being used by the Legion side. And with the token only at 40 seconds, it wouldn't be surprising if TZP decided to back this on out, realizing they don't really have the opportunity to take a fight. No, that's not what they're going to do. Now Crapula feeling confident, apparently. Puppet Show goes through onto Bloodhunter, and there's the stun from Geomancer onto 2. Crystal Field's there as well, and absolutely destroyed, but Swipblade has a token coming right back in. Engineer with the PK, Energy Field in the background, doing a ton of work. 2, 3 dead, as only Torture and Bubbles can survive the onslaught of ultimates from this Legion team. Bubbles going to come back in, but the Pharaoh ulti's still available, so they have to watch out for that a little bit. El Matador de Gladiator, apparently YOLO Train.
The Hellborn Barracks was liquidated.
That means the killer of Gladiator, by the way. Matar in Spanish is to kill. Bubble's going to continually jump in and out and in. Pharaoh completely wasting his ultimate right there. But, I like that. Have fun in silver. Yeah, this is not a demotion match there, Canal. And you haven't won yet, but, he probably will, so it's fine. Looks like they're going to be complementing that set of middle racks with a set of top racks, as Bubbles continues to try to do something. 4-man Kelpfield there, but the Barb Armor goes up from Mr. Pharaoh, as a number of heroes take the Kelpfield stun, trying to back out. Bubbles going to eat the Hemorrhage, and he's going to get silenced as well. There's no way he's getting out of this. Tries to teleport away. Not going to happen, sir. Meanwhile, Swiftblade sort of getting caught out, but he's spinning, and he's going to teleport. We'll try to survive. Pharaoh gets the Wrath of the Pharaoh back in, but actually that was a pretty poor decision. Geomancer has MPEP inside, and going to be able to finish off YOLO Train. Swiftblade picking up the Assassin's Shroud, but Bloodhunter going to drop the Silence onto Mr. Geomancer as he gets sped up by Empath. Also going to eat the Essence Link. Dig coming through at any point. We'll see. He's looking for Bloodhunter. Still can't find him. Dig stun does not connect. And I think Jonathan could be okay here. Wazo with the Shroud coming in still. Earth's Grasp. They're really trying to chase him down. I don't know if they have enough stuff. Actually, Wall did not block him out, but there's the Puppet Show. Jonathan finally going to be caught and killed here. And it looks like it will be Sonya on the Geomancer getting that kill. Assassin's Shroud, Swiftblade has an ultimate as well. That's going to be 1 kill and 2 kills. No, yeah, Dig actually doesn't go all the way. That's a problem. That's 2 kills. We'll see if he can finish off Wazo here. I suspect he can't, but there's the spin. And actually, nice keg stun from Engie. Will they find him and kill him? It doesn't seem like it. He's waiting here, trying to survive. Assassin's Shroud, Swiftblade. No, there he is. As, yeah, Swiftblade's like, guess what, buddy? I'm still here. Hat trick going through, 4-count Crapula. And offensive GG's being called here from YOLO Train. Bit of a BM feller there. Bit of a troll, if you know YOLO Train. Kelpfield here onto 3 heroes. Not sure what Predictable thinks is going to happen with that. Push books forward as Swiftblade trying to catch him out. There's a stun. Nice take cover, though. Turret going to slow him down a little bit. And here's the Assassin Shroud. Auto attack. That's 1. And dot damage from Dawnbringer is not going to be sufficient. So Predictable annoying the crap out of some heroes, but not actually getting any kills or getting killed. CC vote finally coming through from the Hellborn team, which is something that they could probably use here as they've lost 2 lanes of racks, and they will in fact concede the match and the series to TangZangPang. So TZP will be moving on to the losers bracket round 4. No, round 3, excuse me. This is losers bracket round 2. And Team Zenzyg will be dropped out of Gold Cycle 6 as they lose losers bracket round 2. They will be back for Gold Cycle 7. This is not an elimination match. This is not the losers bracket round 1. So they still have another shot, and they'll have superior seeding next time too, as they're not coming up from silver. So saw some good things from them in the series. I saw a lot that probably could have been improved on, but for the most part, a decently played series. They definitely showed a lot of potential in Game 1, of course, less so as the series went on, but TZP a solid team, and as I said at the very beginning, a series that they should be expected to win, and in the end, not having all that much trouble taking the victory, if we just sort of write off Game 1, but at the same time, I think Zenzyg can take some positives from this. One, they can hang with a team like this. They can't probably beat them consistently quite yet, but they can definitely be in the conversation, and they won't be embarrassed when they go up against a team like TZP or Solaire Club, or perhaps even something like Dawn or Coolio. They can sort of not be like, yeah, we're playing a different game type thing. Wake of Gods, that's caliber of team. And perhaps they can take a game or two here or there. I'd like to see them, I think, learn from their mistakes a little bit. In Game 2 especially, we saw them continuously initiating deep on the Hellborn team in that situation on TZP, and getting countered and killed. In this game, they continuously tried to prolong fights for much longer than they should have, and they continuously got turned. So when the same thing keeps happening to you over and over in the same game, at some point you have to switch up your playstyle. And I think that they do have the technical skill to win a series like this against TZP. They won lanes. They had the pure ability. And I think actually their team play wasn't all that bad, to be fair. Their problem seemed to be more about strategy, about execution, and about adaptability. Being able to move on the fly in the middle of a game is very important. You can't lock yourself into one strategy and say, okay, either this works or we lose, because that's going to result in the second option a lot, especially against teams that can switch up what they're doing. And I think in the game you saw a good representation of that from TZP. Jonathan was supposed to be their main farmer. Count Crapula was the suicide option. Count Crapula finished with 592 gold per minute, and Jonathan finished with 336 only after he had significant recovery thanks to the rest of his team creating a ton of space. So TZP went in with a game plan, realized very quickly that game plan was not going to work. Jonathan moved to the jungle just because he didn't want to keep feeding. They focused a resource in the top lane on Engineer, making sure Count Crapula got good farm. They focused another one in the middle lane, making sure Yellow Train got good farm. That was not their original game plan, I can pretty much guarantee you it. And as a result of those adaptive changes, they had a strong laning phase, and they eventually won the game. We didn't see the same sort of thing from Zenzyg. We couldn't really tell what their supports were doing in the bottom lane. They sort of were caught between, do I want to roam? Do you want to stay here and make sure Bloodhunter doesn't come back? They never supported the Geomancer in the top lane, so a number of things that you can look at this game and think, Zenzyg, you should have done this, you should have done this. The advantage that they have is, I think, they weren't making unfixable errors, and they definitely have the skill to compete. So that sort of thing should give them some sort of optimism about where they are. And that's where I'm done preaching like I know anything what I'm talking about. So in the end, Zenzyg are going to fall 2-1 against TZP, and they will be knocked out, as I said. So nice series from both sides. Some mistakes on both sides, but some good play and some potential, I think, from both of these teams, especially from a TZP team that has seen multiple roster changes, and from a Zenzyg team that hasn't consistently been able to stick in Gold Division. So that's going to do it for this series. Thanks for watching.